It feels like you can't go anywhere these days without hearing about AI, right? And the conversation is always at the extremes. It's either our salvation, the thing that's going to cure disease and solve climate change, or it's the beginning of the end for humanity. So let's just try to cut through some of that noise and figure out what's really going on.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Are we standing on the edge of a new golden age, or are we accidentally building the thing that makes us obsolete? To even begin to answer that, we really have to understand the two completely opposite, but weirdly equally possible futures that AI is presenting to us.
Okay, so let's start with the bright side, the optimist vision. The people who are really excited about this, they don't see AI as just another app or another gadget. They see it as a fundamental shift in how we interact with everything, kind of like the internet itself.
Just let that sink in for a second. The CEO of Google isn't saying it's as big as the smartphone or even the internet. He's saying it's as profound as electricity. That frames AI as this basic utility, right? The power source that's going to fuel the next 100 years of innovation and touch literally every single part of our lives.
And this is a really useful way to think about it. The web, that gave us access to information. Mobile, that let us interact with that information anywhere, anytime. But AI gives us something totally new. The power of creation for everyone. The idea is that anybody, and I mean anybody, can now generate code, create art, write a business plan, compose music. It's like turbocharging human creativity on a scale we've just never seen before. But of course, that incredible utopian vision, well, it has a shadow, a pretty dark one. So, now we have to flip the coin and look at the other side of this. Because while some people see this amazing tool for creation, others see a force that we might not be able to control. One that could genuinely threaten our existence.
This quote from Dr. Yampolsky, who's a huge name in AI safety, it just cuts right to the core of the fear. We are building this alien intelligence, something that could become so much smarter than us. And the scary part is, we have no foolproof way to make sure it stays aligned with what's good for humanity, or even with our own survival.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical fear. Dr. Yampolsky has a pretty concrete prediction. He thinks a fully mature AI could lead to 99% unemployment. Just let that number sink in. We're not talking 10 or 20%, which would already be a catastrophe. We're talking about the near total automation of all human work. And this isn't some far-off sci-fi future either. Look at this timeline. Based on what a lot of experts are saying, we could see AGI, that's an AI as smart as a human, by 2027. That's just around the corner. And that's followed really quickly by robots that can do physical jobs, and then the singularity. That's the moment when this whole thing just spirals out of our control.
So here's the fundamental problem, right? The reason people are so worried. Our ability to make AI more and more powerful is growing exponentially. It's just skyrocketing. But our ability to make it safe, to control it, that's just kind of plodding along at a linear pace. And that gap between power and control, it gets wider every single day. So, to really get this, we kind of need to pop the hood and see how it works.
All right, let's pull back the curtain for a minute. With all this talk of utopia and doomsday, you might be wondering, how does this stuff actually work? It's easy to get lost in the hype, but the basics are, you might be surprised, pretty straightforward.
At the end of the day, a system like ChatGPT is what's called a large language model. And its main job is shockingly simple. It's a word guessing machine, a superpowered autocomplete. If you give it the phrase, the color of the sky is, its entire purpose is just to predict the next most likely word, probably blue. That's it. But, and this is the crazy part, when you make a model huge and have it do that billions and billions of times, these incredible, unexpected abilities just start to emerge.
You can almost think of it like a recipe with 4 steps. First, you just hoover up a massive amount of text from the internet, like all of Wikipedia, tons of books, Reddit, you name it. Second, you pick your architecture, which these days is almost always something called a transformer. Third, you just train it, make it guess the next word over and over and over again on all that data. And finally, you fine-tune it with actual humans who help guide it to be more helpful and, not harmful.
So, what's the secret sauce that made everything explode recently? Honestly, it's just mind-boggling scale. The size of these models is measured in something called parameters, which are kind of like the connections in a brain. And just look at this chart. We went from GPT-2 with 1.5 billion parameters to GPT-3 with 175 billion to GPT-4, which is estimated to be over a trillion. When it comes to AI, it really does seem like bigger is better.
But getting that big, well, it comes with a huge price tag. We're talking about an estimated $100 million just to train a single model like GPT-4. This means it's not a game for startups in a garage anymore. This is a race that's being run by just a handful of giant corporations with incredibly deep pockets.
So, where does all this leave us? We've got these two totally conflicting futures, right? One a utopia, the other a dystopia, and both are being powered by the exact same technology. How on earth do we make sense of that?
It really boils down to this fundamental conflict. Is AI an empowering tool, like a super assistant that just amplifies our best qualities, or is it an uncontrollable agent, a replacement that could make us completely obsolete? The terrifying thing is, you can make a really convincing argument for both.
And that's why the stakes feel so final. This quote just drives that point home. If we succeed in creating something that is a better inventor than we are, then the process of invention itself gets automated. It takes off without us, and it becomes the last thing humanity ever needs to create.
We are right in the middle of this critical moment, building a completely new kind of intelligence on this planet. And the choices we make right now, in the next few years, they're going to determine whether that intelligence ends up being a tool that serves us, or if it's something that we end up serving.